The bus stop. I stepped out of the warmth of the apartment complex into the cold winds of the empty sidewalk. The only source of light were a few street lights, emitting weak yellow light. I turned right and started walking down to the road towards the bus stop when I saw the bus I was supposed to take speeding past the waiting benches. Fuck, I thought to myself. The next bus wouldn't leave for another hour, so I figured I'd have to wait in the apartment to keep myself from freezing to death. I walked back to the complex, only to realize that the keys that I thought to be in my pocket were missing. Did I drop them on the short stretch I walked? I retraced my steps but found nothing. I looked through every pocket twice, but the keys weren't there. I must have left them at home. You've got to be kidding me. How did I forget my keys when they were right on my bed next to my jacket? And if being locked out wasn't bad enough, I felt water drops hitting my bare head. Could this get any worse? I pulled up my hood and started walking down the road towards the bus station. At least I could get cover from the glass shelter. When I stepped under the metal roof of the bus shelter, I immediately noticed that the digital timetable was out of order and displayed the message, "Out of order, check timetable." I turned to the printed timetables to the left of me and looked under my bus's number. I checked the timetable for Saturday. Next bus would arrive in, fuck me, 2 hours? Then I remembered that the weekend buses only depart every 2 hours. Now I would have to sit here under a dark bus shelter on a dark road in the outskirts of the suburbs, an hour from the inner city. Great. At least my phone was fully charged. I put my earphones in, sat down on the bench, and opened YouTube. Here's to wasting 2 hours on absolutely nothing. Snap! It was loud enough to be heard even with my earphones in. I pulled out one of my earbuds. I couldn't see anything. It was very dark, so obviously it sent a shiver down my spine. But it's nothing I couldn't shake off as superstition. So I put my earbud back in and continued watching my video. Snap! There it was again, but this time it was louder. Snap! The sound of sticks snapping was getting closer and louder. Then a figure stepped out of the dark. I jumped. It was a man in a suit.
"Sorry if I scared you there. It's just that it's so dark, I can barely see anything,"
he apologized. "Yeah, no problem. It's just that it is dark, and I haven't seen anyone around, so I'm kind of jumpy," I replied.
"Understandable,"
he said as he sat down on the bench next to me.
"Again, sorry if I scared you."
"Nah, it's all right," I said. Then I marked the end of the conversation by putting my earbuds back in and turned back to my phone. I checked the time on the top of the screen, an hour until the bus would arrive. Jeez, time's slow when you really don't need it to be. I checked the phone's time again, 40 minutes to go, but then, as I was about to switch back to my videos, I noticed something in the corner of my eye. The man in the suit that was still sitting next to me had his head turned towards me. At first, I couldn't make out what he was looking at, but then I realized he was staring straight at me. What the fuck do I do? This creepy guy in a suit is sitting just 3 meters from me, staring right at me? I don't dare to look at him, but I just know that he knows I notice him staring, and it's making the whole situation more uncomfortable. At last, I swallow my fears and I turn to him. "Is there something you want?" I asked him. He didn't answer. He just kept staring at me, with dark eyes. "Look, whatever you want, just tell me, will you?" I said, again trying to sound angry, but this time it just came out as a nervous, cracked voice. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but it wasn't natural. His mouth opened way too much, and inside of it there was nothing, just darkness. I stood up and stumbled back. I couldn't speak. I just watched in horror as he slowly stood up and started walking towards me. And as I continued to stumble backwards, I saw his mouth begin closing again. Then suddenly he stopped. Then his mouth moved. It started spreading into an unholy smile from ear to ear, and I could hear a deep, raw laughter bubbling up from inside of him as he began to move towards me again. This time he was faster. He began running towards me, and I just dodged him, sending him flying through one of the glass panes on the shelter. It broke with a huge crash, and I backed up, slowly. I expected him to stand up again, but he didn't. All of a sudden, everything just went black, and I fell to the ground. I didn't wake up until the bus driver was standing over me. He looked both concerned and angry.
"What are you doing, kid? Are you all right?"
he asked me. I just nodded slowly.
"Look, are you going to get on the bus or not? I got a tight schedule to run here."
Yeah. The bus driver helped me up and helped me on board the bus.
"I'm not sure what you got yourself into, but you seem all right. Do you know who broke the glass pane?"
he asked me. No, it was broken when I got here. I must have had low blood sugar or something. All I remember is passing out. The bus was empty except for me and the driver.
"I'm gonna believe you, so there's no need to call the cops or nothing. Just tell me which stop you're heading to, and I can tell you over the speakers when we get there," he said.
"End of the line," I said as I sat down in view of the driver's mirror. "The end of the line." As the bus pulled out of the station, I looked out the window, and only a few meters from the bus stop, I could see a man in a suit just staring back at me, and I thanked God that I got out of there in time. I looked back to ask the driver how long it would take, and in the mirror, I could see him looking back at me, with dark eyes, and with a smile that grew from ear to ear.